old, you know. Just so people know, I'm actually not that old.
No, you're not at all.
They're thinking, well, maybe she's like, 50 or 60. I'm not. I'm half that age.
Yeah, well, given you're pregnant, I think 15, 16 would be a bit of a shock.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit retro.
Power to Live More with Jo Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello, my name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter, and today is Serious Day. Today Jo is interviewing Sam Bearfoot, aka the Digestion Detective. Jo was introduced to Sam Bearfoot via a friend of a friend when she heard about Jo's now, not so new, Power to Live More business. She said that Sam would be a great fit for the podcast, and how right she was. Radio presenter, nutritional therapist, kinesiologist and digestive wellness expert Sam Bearfoot, the Digestion Detective, is on a mission to ditch the taboo about poo, amongst other things. Using years of clinical practice as a kinesiologist and health coach, Sam Bearfoot provides a down-to-earth, no-nonsense approach to guide you through all the jargon in the health and well-being industry. And on her radio show, she also talks to leading industry experts and provides reviews on some of the latest products and services available in the market today. Back to the studio. Dunno.
Welcome, Sam Bearfoot, otherwise known as the Digestion Detective. How are you, Sam?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, Jo?
Yep, good, thanks. Great to have you with me.
Brilliant. It's lovely to be on your lovely new shiny show.
So start by telling us a bit about you, what you do, where you do it, how you sort of operate, if you like.
Yeah, what I get up to. So for me, I'm a therapist, and I started off as a kinesiologist, which is a hands-on therapy. And I've done that for a number of years, but within the last couple of years, I've sort of rebranded myself, and I now pretty much work just as a nutritional therapist online. And my specialism, if you can't guess from the name of Digestion Detective, is digestion. So I pretty much help people that are struggling digestively. It's usually people that suffer with bloating or IBS and/or. It's something that I suffered with many years ago for quite a long time, and it's obviously why I've chosen to sort of niche myself into that market, because it's something I can relate to, and I have obviously first-hand experience of going through the symptoms and the upset and all the nasty bits that come with that, but also I've had to figure it out for myself before I did all my training on getting through and getting out the other side. So I love doing it. It's what I do now. I'm very fortunate to be able to have a pretty successful radio show similar to what you're doing now, where I get to talk to a global audience. So yeah, I kind of therapist come radio presenter come digestion detective. That's who I am.
Brilliant. And so what's a sort of typical day look like? Where are you working, and what sort of activities, if you like, are you doing?
Do you know what? None of my days are
I knew you were going to say that.
They're never the same. I mean, at the moment, I'm pregnant as well, so I'm frantically trying to, get all that sort of stuff done before my little one arrives. But generally speaking, it's, checking in on social media. I try my very best to be as active as I can and talk to the people that want to talk to me on the various methods that there are. So I sort of check in every day just to make sure everyone's happy and they've got questions and things like that. Then it can be sort of researching and just, keeping up with the local people around, anybody that's up and coming. Do I want to talk to them on my show? At the same sense, I do stuff like this too, where people want me on their show. And then it can be, working on some new products, stuff that people are sort of asking me for day in, day out, and I sort of do my best to sort of put something together, whether it's a cheat sheet, whether it's an online coaching session, all those kinds of things. And it really does sort of just depend on the month, the year, the week. It's very, very different, but that's what I like about it.
And you work from home?
I do, yeah.
And so when's the baby due?
October the 6th.
And is it your first?
Yeah.
So there could be a big change. You might be answering the question differently in November.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Ask me that question in 6 months' time, and I'm sure that's very, very different.
Excellent. So what about
completely
on a morning? Do you have a particular routine? Obviously the days change, but do you do typical stuff in the morning? So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, obviously that has changed somewhat with the pregnancy, because mornings are famous for not being fantastic with pregnant women, and I'm no exception to that rule. But previously, it would very much be I would get up. I'm a firm believer in breakfast. You absolutely have to have breakfast, so I always have a really good breakfast, and that can consist of anything from a homemade granola bar to I will sit there and make myself some protein pancakes with some fruit or whatever, and a brew. You've got to have a brew first thing in the morning.
And what's your preferred brew?
My preferred brew is a Twinings everyday cup of tea.
Lovely.
Yeah, I only allow myself 2 cups of tea throughout the day, and that's one of them.
Great. So that's probably going back to another interview. Talking about rituals. That's a bit of a ritual, isn't it?
It's a ritual for me. Yeah. So that's my thing. And sort of now in pregnancy, I can wake up really early, starving. So quite often I will get up fairly early. I'm sort of talking 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Come downstairs, scoff something to eat, and then I'll go back to sleep for a little while, and my tea waits until I'm actually awake and I'm up.
And awake enough to appreciate it.
So it's kind of changed a little bit, but predominantly my routine is up and eat. My partner often says to me that I'm like a child, that as soon as I'm awake, my eyes are awake, that's it, I need to be fed. And he's not far wrong, I have to say.
It's good practice. You'll know how it goes down.
up and eat, that's pretty much my mornings before I obviously go off and shower and do all the bits and pieces that you do.
Yeah. So we just had a bit of technical problem, and I lost Sam on the call. So she's gone off the internet, dialed in on the phone. So we're going to carry on. So the sound might be slightly different because she's on a different tool now, aren't you?
Different method.
So, exactly. So to go back to
we're still here. It's all good.
Yes, that's right, exactly. And we just get on with things. We're like that. We're pragmatic people.
Yeah, of course.
So you were talking about your typical morning, and I was just asking, from a sort of business point of view, or sort of getting organised for the day point of view, is there anything that you do sort of routinely, or is it just depending on what happens that day?
Yeah, no, there is definitely. So I will obviously get up and have my breakfast, and with my tea is when I go through my email, social media, stuff like that. It sets me up for the day. I get to see if anything's really urgent that needs real attention now, sort of thing. I've got quite a big Twitter following, so I get lots and lots of tweets and stuff. So I have to check on that, a fair few times a day.
Yeah.
So it kind of, that time of the morning is when I go through everything, get rid of all the spam and the junk, as you do. And, it gives me a good idea of who I've got to talk to, what I've got to do. If anything major needs sorting out, that's that sort of time of the morning. But I figure that sort of stuff out.
Yes, yeah. And what about in the evening? Do you do particular things in the evening to sort of wind down, or again, is it just whatever happens? I'm a bit whatever happens, I think.
Yeah, I kind of make a bit of a rule that I don't really work into the evenings unless I absolutely have to. And then sort of my wind down time actually is spent in the kitchen. I like being in the kitchen. I like to cook. I like to do things sort of from scratch, which, a lot of my followers know anyway. So for me, that kind of, separation between work and play or leisure time, is usually spent somewhere in the kitchen.
Yes.
Whipping up something, something or other for dinner, and, whether that be just for dinner, whether it be dinner and maybe pack lunch for the other half the next day, that kind of thing. So that's sort of how I close off my work day and start off my evening chill time.
And do you have a certain time for doing that? One of the things I struggle with is sort of where that cutoff is, and I suppose one small advantage is that little Dodsie comes home from school, and that's sort of the indicator. But then because she has after school activities, sometimes that time varies, so it doesn't make it very routine, really.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And what I try to do is I time that with the other half coming home.
Right.
One, because I know that when he is home, I won't get anything done anyway. He'll be talking to me about his day, and, he'll come in and chat about various, bits and pieces, and he'll want to know what his dinner is, and, all that sort of stuff. So that's how I separate the two off. And it's, that's my cut-off. Whenever it is that he comes home, that's when I try my best to make sure that I'm done, dusted, there's nothing else that needs to be done, and that's my cut-off point.
Yeah.
But I think that, that's going to change, isn't it? That's going to dramatically change when the little sprog turns up. But that, for the moment, that's kind of and that's quite a nice time. That's sort of somewhere between 6 and 6:30. So as long as I'm done, then, on the odd occasion, as you will come to learn, I'm sure, there'll be an interview that you really, really want to do, and there's just no gap in the schedule during the day, and, maybe it's a mum, that they don't have any time during the day and they have to wait until the kids go to bed. Then what I'll do is I usually book that maybe somewhere between 8 and 9, because then kind of I've done dinner, I've had that, washed up, done all that sort of stuff, and I can sort of slope off upstairs and leave him down here. But that's very rare. It's very rare that happens. But I would do it if there's something, if I wanted really to talk to someone and there just was no other availability.
Mm-hmm. So how do you manage your tasks? Do you use a to-do list? Do you have other options, other ways of managing what you need to do?
Do you know what? I'm really, really old school. Really old school. I use pen and paper.
Wow, paper, brilliant.
Yeah. I do, and I have these big sheets of paper. I think they're A3. I think they're the bigger ones, aren't they?
Yeah, the flip chart ones.
The number decreases as you get bigger. Yeah.
No, not flip chart. That's A1, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, not that big.
Double A4 is A3, I think.
Yes, that's it. That's the size. So I use that, and I have various sort of runs of those kicking about the house, and I devised this big plan and spider charts and different colours and all that kind of stuff, and they get stuck on the wall of my office, and I sort of tick them off as time goes by. But I am really, really old school. Yeah. When it comes to I've only just started to use an online calendar. Everything else would have gone into my old diary, which is a paper diary. Yes. I can't stay. So there's obviously two. I've obviously got my paper diary and my online diary, and they sort of mimic each other because I can't quite, step away from it properly.
You're just waiting for that time when
losing an arm.
Yeah, it'll be that time when it's more painful to carry on with two than it is to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm really, really old school, and I'm paper and pen, and fine. It gives me an excuse. It gives me an excuse to buy really fancy stationery.
Yes. Oh, I love stationery. I worked for Staples for 3 years just because I liked stationery.
But there you go. Your addiction is far worse than mine, I'm sure.
So I hesitate to ask the next question, which is, what are your top 3 tools or apps? But maybe apps doesn't need to be in there. Maybe it's tools.
Yeah. So exactly. I mean, app-wise, I've been a BlackBerry user for many, many years, and I do have an iPhone now, but I hate it. So I'm not really up on that kind of stuff. I don't really use anything like that at all.
That's because you've got a BlackBerry and the apps aren't so good. I was a BlackBerry girl for many years.
Yes. Well, that's exactly it. I think I just haven't really been introduced to that world. I think I use a meditation one every now and then.
Yeah.
Which is quite good.
Which one's that? Do you know the name?
It's for I used to work in a clinic in London, and they developed their own meditation app. It's just called Animea. So that's their app. So I use that. They've got a really good pregnancy section in there, so that's been useful. But other than the standard like WhatsApp and Facebook app, and it's the Facebook app. I'm getting so annoyed with that keep popping up that I'm going to delete it. So I'm not really great with stuff like that. But I want my top tools. My top tool would be. Do you know what my top tool would be? I have one of those pens. Do you remember those pens when you was at school and your teacher had them, and they have the white top and they've got the 4 different colours?
Yes.
Push down. Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that. I knew exactly where you were going with that. A red, a green, a black, and a blue.
Yeah, but I've got a really cool one in the sense of mine's purple. So I've got a purple, a pink, a lime green, and a turquoise.
Wow. I have pen envy. Funny, I was on a course. I was on a sort of course with Engage for Success, who I did some work with a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about different communication styles, and he split us into 4 groups of the different styles that we preferred, and he set us a little task. We were supposed to be working out a summer fair for a village for sort of 5 minutes, just to sort of highlight the different approaches depending on the type of people that you are. And I was with Kathy, who's also done an interview with me, and he was laughing, and he told everyone at the end, everyone else was really getting their to-do list and, all their ideas down and everything else. She started complimenting me on my green pen, and then we had a discussion about how we'd both written in green when we were at school, and this went on for ages. And it was like, everyone else was on topic, getting the job done, and you were too busy talking about green pens.
But you know what? I've had that particular pen for ages, and I will be heartbroken when it's run out. I haven't seen one since in the the different optional colours. Yeah. But that pen has been with me for ages, and I am literally touching wood here. I hope to God I don't ever lose it, because it is my saviour, and because obviously I write everything down. Yes. I have these little handy notepads that sort of sit in my handbag. So if I have an idea in the car, out comes the pen and the pad.
So do you use different?
I'm writing it down.
Do you use different colours for different things, or just whichever takes your fancy?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I use different colours for different things.
Yeah.
So it's essential. That's my app, isn't it? That's my multifunctional tool. Is my pen.
It is your retro app.
Yeah. I know. Considering, people sort of laugh because they say, considering someone that I'm really active on social media and I'm pretty good on laptop and all that kind of thing. Yeah. They sort of laugh at me and say that the fact that I still use pen and paper for some stuff is just really crazy.
Yeah, although, I was at an event a little while ago, and it was they were talking about millennials, and they had some people to sort of give opinions. I was one of them, and we were all like, not millennials, clearly. And we were all sitting there with our iPads and our iPhones taking notes before we went into the session. And the 2 millennials asked for a piece of paper and a pen because they hadn't actually got any technology with them. So maybe you're just ahead of everyone else.
That would totally be me. I'd have the iPhone, obviously. It'd be in my bag. But I wouldn't think for one moment of getting it out to make notes because that would drive me insane.
Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't type on my phone as quickly as I could write with a pen.
Yeah. So,
I'm not that old, just so people know, I'm actually not that old.
No, you're not at all.
They're thinking, well, maybe she's like, 50 or 60. I'm not. I'm half that age.
Yeah, well, given you're pregnant, I think 15, 16 would be a bit of a shock.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit retro. We'll call me a bit retro. That's fine.
Retro. It's very good. So changing the subject a bit then, what do you do to relax?
Relaxation time, it's probably not going to be all that much of a surprise, but I like to draw. So I sketch, I colour, I paint. I love a bit of yoga. I like to meditate. I like walking. Those are my kind of, release. I mean, take me back a year, and it would have been, I'd go out for a run, I'd go to the gym, that sort of thing. But obviously that's kind of off the menu for a little while. But yeah, I really like to draw, so it still involves pen and paper.
Yes.
And doing things like that really. And I do my best to relax as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because in previous years I have been in a real stress bunny. So I do appreciate some downtime now.
Yeah. You see, I could have done a nice link from that. I could have said, is there anything else you use paper for? And then you could have taken us into the relaxing question rather than really so abruptly changing the subject.
It wasn't a change of subject really at all, was it? Because it still involves the old paper and pen.
Yeah.
But I've always liked that. It's always been something that I've done as a kid. I was always the sort of kid that, on my homework there was a little doodle in the corner, and things like that. So it's just my way of kind of, it's distraction as well, distraction from the rest of the world and other things that I have going on. But yeah, it's something I've always really liked, and it just kind of takes me off into my own little world, which is ideal.
Yeah, it's great. I've got one of those colouring in books because I'm not very good at drawing, but sort of the same principle.
I've got one too.
Yeah,
I've got them, and I've got a big bag of paint and pen and felt tip and stuff. Yeah.
Here we go. We're back on stationery. Right. Let's move on. So, how do you keep healthy? And I guess that's sort of changing with the pregnancy as well. But what sort of things, the food and exercise and sleep and that sort of thing? Yeah,
I mean, over the years it has changed quite a lot because I was just awful, really awful. I lived on takeout. I worked in a fast food restaurant for a number of years. I used to drink really heavily. I used to smoke, and now I don't do any of that. Obviously, I'm nutritionally trained, so the food that goes in, a good 80 or 90% of the time is exactly what it should be. So lots of veggies, lovely lean meats. There's nothing processed in my diet. And that's kind of how I look after myself. And I'm kind of one of these people that healthy doesn't need to be boring, and it doesn't need to be like a rabbit constantly. You can still enjoy some really nice food. You just have to sort of put the effort in and make it for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's kind of my ethos, if you like, is you don't have to give up everything. You just have to find a little cheeky way around it, which is pretty much how I live. There's lots and lots of supplementation that goes in.
Yeah.
And that's obviously changed quite a bit with pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to who I am and what I do as a business, my number one priority is always looking after my digestion, because I know how important that is for everything else, that goes on.
Yes.
So for me, and because I know that I suffer or have suffered in that area, I know that if I don't look after that, potentially I can become quite ill.
Mm-hmm. And obviously that's a big topic. So I was going to say it's obviously a big topic, and that's clearly what you do. So we're not going to get through lots of it in the next couple of minutes. But are there any sort of really key, hints, tips, messages for people who might have sort of digestive issues that you would sort of throw in? As I say, you've only got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, the top things that people sort of
are getting wrong is they're not drinking enough water. So that's a huge one. And that will help with every part of the body, not just digestion. For those that do drink water, they tend to drink water when they are eating, and that's a big no-no. You need to separate those out. So 20 minutes before or after you eat, gulping down the water. And of course, anything that you know that upsets you, don't eat it. It's like that joke that you hear as a kid, and I can't do it, but you imagine that I'm doing this, and you go into the doctor and you say to the doctor, it hurts when I do this, and I'm flapping my arm about.
Yeah.
And I really was just flapping my arm about. And the doctor says, well, don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, people forget that and they sort of laugh, and I'm like, no, I'm being serious. If you know that you eat that and then, an hour later you are doubled over, why on earth did you eat it in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's about kind of figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and avoiding the stuff that just doesn't agree.
Which sometimes is harder said than done, isn't it? I was listening to a podcast earlier and they were talking about the race for life, and they were saying there were people doing lots of them over the last week or two, and they'd got all the sort of signs on their back about why they were supporting and that sort of thing. And they were saying there was one particular person who'd got something talking about let's find the cure for cancer sort of thing, and was standing there eating horrendous food and smoking, and it's a bit like actually if we can get some of the first bit right, then some of the sort of potential issues may reduce, go away, or whatever. But we do tend to sort of know what's good and not do it because other things get in the way, I suppose.
We fall into that trap of, we kind of have a lot of the time we have a bit of a subconscious thing where we know that something's not quite right, but we're just going to dismiss it rather than actually looking into it. But I think that's the fear factor, and that's a lot, again, of what I deal with, is a lot of people are actually quite afraid of trying to deal with their issues and face their issues, because sometimes it means quite a big change, and a lot of people aren't really ready for that.
No.
So they kind of just dismiss the things that they sort of know might be their problem area, but they're just not ready to face them yet. So I kind of help them through and see, help them to see that actually the task that they think is humongous, it isn't going to be that humongous when you break it all down. So that's kind of where I come in.
Yeah. So from your own point of view, thinking about changing things and doing things differently, what do you do to learn and improve yourself?
For me, I'm always kind of learning from the professors, from the big doctors out there, the big guys that are kind of flying the flag for digestion, and although they're in a bit of a different field from me in the sense that they're medically trained and, they've really getting their hands dirty with this kind of stuff, actually, it kind of teaches me an awful lot, and I do my best to read as much research as I can, keeping up to, with some of the new stuff that comes out, because people ask me, and I would feel that I'd be doing a bit of a disservice if I didn't know the answer. Yeah. But having said that, I quite frequently hold my hands up and go, nope, never heard of that. Because at the same time, I'm only human as well. So, I do my best to keep up with anything new, keeping up with lots of research. And I'm very fortunate that I do know some pretty cool people in those kinds of places anyway. So sometimes I get to know about these things before they hit the headlines. But it's continual training. Sometimes I might think, perhaps I fancy learning about something extra, and I'll just go off and do it. Whether that's just getting knee deep into a really good book, or maybe interviewing the person, because I learn just as much actually from some of the interviews that I do. And I don't think people kind of realise that, but I do. You learn every day.
Yes, yeah. What about a couple of examples of either websites or people to send our listeners to if they're interested in following up any of this sort of nutrition, diet sort of stuff? Who springs to mind for you as somebody you really follow?
Who do I follow?
Yeah.
So who would I keep up with? I've got some good friends over at the Functional Gut Clinic. They've always got, and I think they're thefunctionalgutclinic.com. The lovely Anthony Hobson over there, he's fantastic, and he's a science kind of guy. He's very, very smart, very clever, but at the same time he really appreciates the kind of work that I do as a therapist, and he's always got something really interesting to say, and again, he's sort of quite nicely connected. So it's always interesting seeing what he's up to and some of the research and things that he's getting involved in. I like to keep up with the IBS network, and I think they're ibsnetwork.org. And again, they've got some fantastic things going. They're trying to get some things through Parliament at the moment, so there's petitions and things going on, and I support them in that. But at the same time, I get to sort of see the forum side of things. So I get to sort of see what the people are saying, listening to what they're, what's going on, answering questions here and there if I can. And that keeps my finger in that pie. It means that I can really get to relate to the people that I'm, hoping to serve and people that I do serve.
Yeah.
So they're kind of cool as well. Who else? There's quite a few. I do keep up. It's not necessarily the traditional people that you would think either. It's not like, your mindbodygreen.com or whatever that is. I don't go with that because I think some of that's a bit rubbish. But yeah, there's lots and lots of stuff that I tend to look at, but mine's probably a little bit more specific than maybe, broad spectrum.
Yeah. And thinking about other recommends, what about books, films, music, or any of those sorts of side of things for perhaps inspiration, enjoyment, or even more learning? Is there anything you'd recommend there?
I'm not a huge book reader. I much prefer to listen. However, having said that, one of my top reads for the last year, for things that I have picked up, is there's a health journalist friend of mine. Her name's Laura Bond, and she wrote a book called Mum's Not Having Chemo. And the book is about her. She travelled the world, and she got to interview 60, I'm sure it's 60, it's a large number anyway, I'm sure it's 60, of the world's leaders in cancer prevention and curing. And it's just such an inspirational book about the various different ways of doing that don't necessarily involve going to see an oncologist. Interesting. I found it really, really interesting, really inspiring, and quite brave. Yes. Because it kind of knocks some of the stuff that we traditionally know and are told well out of the park. Absolutely. Yeah, I was reading that article today about that people quite often die from chemotherapy rather than cancer. Which sort of pops up every so often. And I guess that's probably related to the sorts of things that she's got in that book. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, and a lot of the people that she's interviewed are actually doctors. Right. So it's well worth a read, even if it's not from a cancer perspective, even if it's just from a natural healing perspective. I think that it would appeal to a lot of people, and not necessarily to change your mind. That's not what the book is written for. It's to open your eyes to potential that's out there that is kind of hidden from us. They're not allowed to say certain things and all that kind of thing. But it's, when you just read something and it makes quite a big impact on you. Yes. That's definitely, and I've read a few books over the last year, but that's definitely the one that always springs to mind whenever someone asks me. So, Mum's Not Having Chemo by Laura Bond. Excellent. That's great resource. I think I'll go and check that one out. Thank you. So, I do. So what about if things don't go right with your day, if it all sort of tumbles around you? How do you deal with that? Do you know what? I get livid. I do get completely livid. I get really stressed out. I usually end up barking like a hound at my other half when he walks through the door. But it doesn't last very long. I kind of have to sort of, bark my bark, have a little moan, have an extra cup of tea, and then I'm usually have something to eat, and then I'm okay. But I think that just kind of comes from years and years and years of being in a very corporate environment, where anyone that works in that environment knows that when the stuff hits the fan, it can put a down on your day. Yeah. I love the park the bark. I'm going to write that one down. That's brilliant. So flipping up the other side then. I am just traditional.
So on a day when you end the day knowing that you've had that chance to live more, as I talk about, which is, do the stuff that you want to do rather than the stuff that you have to do or that you think you should do and that sort of thing. What will you have done if you had that that day where everything went swimmingly and you had a really great day? What would you be doing?
Okay, so my good days. Do you know what? I like being outside, and quite often, if that just means that I've ticked all the things off on my list for the day, and it means that I get to go and spend half an hour outside, sat on the grass, literally just sat on the grass with my pen and my pad, and just chill and maybe write some thoughts down of the day. Maybe it's just to appreciate that I've had a really good day and it's something that I've worked really hard for over the years to be able to be in that position. It took me a long time to be able to migrate from a corporate environment over to what I do now.
And that bit about being able to just go out and sit on the grass without having to check with anybody, or because it's 3:00 in the afternoon and you're supposed to be working type thing. Yes. Yeah.
It took me a really long time to sort of get out of that mindset of I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be working. Whereas, now if I've done everything that I need to do for the day and, I'm really happy with that and everything's performed really well and, I don't have anything outstanding that needs to be really, really urgent, then I'm quite happy literally just taking a glass of water, going and sitting on the grass. Maybe I'll just sit there with my cat. I know it sounds like I'm a crazy cat lady, but just really simple things, really, really simple stuff that you just don't get the chance to do if you're stuck in an office.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. For me, that's still really fresh, it's still really new, but I still appreciate it completely.
Yes, no, I get what you mean. I sing sometimes during the day, and I always feel like I'm completely indulging myself. And clearly, I wouldn't have done that if I was in an office with other people either. You know what I mean? And I have to shut the window in case the neighbours are in the garden, that sort of thing. But yeah, it does feel really indulgent. Yeah, it does, and it's something really simple, isn't it? It's nothing. Yeah. It doesn't cost any money, it's not me going out and buying myself something new. It's nothing like that at all. Yeah.
It's just the real simplicity of it's a nice day, let's go and get 25 minutes worth of sunshine.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Brilliant. So we've come to the end of our time now. I was going to say half an hour, but I think this will be a slightly longer interview, which is great. Good, lots of content. So how can people find out more about you and connect with you and find out the sort of stuff that you can do to help them?
Oh, well, do you know what? People laugh. It's that easy. Because of my name, both of them, so my real name is Sam Bearfoot or The Digestion Detective, if you whack that in Google, either of those in Google, there I am. But the website is thedigestiondetective.com, so you can get me there. And if you just type in The Digestion Detective in either Twitter or Facebook, you will find me. I'm everywhere. I'm like a bad penny. I just don't go away.
The famous Sam Bearfoot. That's brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's just because it's such a strange name, I think, and I'm really fortunate because it works really well with SEO. So you can just, pop my name in it and one of my accounts will pop up and you will find me.
Exactly. It's great when that happens. I was really disappointed when a teacher in America got really famous for something and she was called Jo Dodds, because I was the only Jo Dodds that was ever out there before. How dare she do something that gets in the news?
How dare she? Yeah, exactly.
I can't think there's going to be many Sam Barefoots out there, though, so I think you're all right. So brilliant. I really appreciate...
Yeah, not changing my name.
No. So I really appreciate you spending some time today. It's been great to get some sort of good info, hints and tips and recommendations from you. And I'm still loving the 4-colour pen. So I'm going to have to try and find something like that online, I think.
You're going to have to find one. You are. You're going to be on the hunt now. You wait. You'll be in the stationery section and be looking for this multicolour pen, I promise you.
And if I find one with pink and purple on it, I'll send you one, okay?
Yes, do it. Yes, because I haven't found another one since.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sam.
Oh, you're more than welcome, love. Take care.
Jo's Gems.
This is the part of the show where I do a recap of the key points of the interview, the stuff that I really liked, and the apps, books, music, tips and tools that were shared.
This is for you if you heard something that you want to check out, but you couldn't write it down at the time. Hopefully I've got you covered. And this is the bit for the really time-pressed. You can just listen here and get the gems from the interview. But of course I wouldn't suggest you do that and miss out on the great conversation that I had with Sam. So, tools and apps. We talked about an app for meditation that Sam uses and recommends called Animea. We talked about WhatsApp for instant chat and using the Facebook app to keep up with Facebook on her smartphone. And Sam says my top tool would be, I have one of those pens. Do you remember those pens which you used at school and your teacher had them? They have the white top and the 4 different colours that you push down. And we were talking about the fact that they were, I think, black, red, blue and green, and that Sam had a different type that was like purple, pink, something and something. And I managed to find links to 2 different types for the show notes. One is the standard, one is slightly different, but it isn't quite as exciting as the pen that Sam described. But if you remember those pens and you like the idea of different colours, then do check those out. She talked about having a cup of tea or 2 cups of tea every day, and she recommends Twining's Everyday Tea. The book that Sam recommended was Mum's Not Having Chemo by Laura Bonds. She says it's just such an inspirational book. And it's about the various different ways that Laura's mum healed her cancer without chemotherapy. And then the tips that Sam shared with us. She says, I make a bit of a rule that I don't bring work into the evenings if I don't absolutely have to. And then my wind down time is actually spent in the kitchen. I like being in the kitchen. I like to cook. She also talks about liking drawing, sketching, colouring and painting for relaxation. She loves a bit of yoga and likes to meditate and likes walking. All of those things give her that opportunity to relax. She says, I'm one of those people that healthy doesn't need to be boring, and it doesn't need to be eating like a rabbit constantly. You can still enjoy some really nice food. You just have to put the effort in and make it for yourself. That's my ethos, if you like. You don't have to give up everything. You just have to find a little cheeky way around it, which is pretty much how I live. When I asked her about tips for digestion, she said the top things that people are getting wrong is that they're not drinking enough water. That's a huge one. That will help with every part of your body, not just digestion. Those that do drink water, they tend to drink water when they're eating, and that's a big no-no. You need to separate those out at least 20 minutes before or after you eat. And she said the obvious thing that people often don't follow, which is anything that you know that upsets you, just don't eat it. And she says on her good days, she likes being outside, and quite often, if that just means that she's ticked off all the things on her to-do list, she might go and spend half an hour or an hour sat on the grass with her pen and her pad and chilling out, maybe writing some thoughts down at the end of the day. And it's just maybe to appreciate that she's had a really good day, and she said that it's something that she's worked really hard for over the years to be able to be in that position to be able to do that. The podcast that I'd recommend, Sam didn't specifically recommend it, but I'd recommend, is the Digestion Detective Show with Sam Bearfoot, so clearly Sam's own podcast. She did recommend 2 websites, the Functional Gut Clinic and the IBS Network, who she uses to sort of keep up with the digestive sort of research and the new stuff that's coming out. So definitely worth a visit if you're interested in the digestion issues. And to contact Sam, you can go to her website, which is thedigestiondetective.com, or Twitter, she's at Digestion Detect, and Facebook, it's The Digestion Detective. As you know, all this information is available on the show notes, which you can get to by going to powertolivemore.com/8.
Use your power to live more.
Again, all this information is available on the show notes on the website powertolivemore.com/8 in this case. If you'd like to sign up to get my weekly newsletter with more tips, strategies, ideas and tools to improve your power, you can do that on the website too. And again, the link for this show is powertolivemore.com/8. And we look forward to speaking to you next time.